Sources confirming what has been reported here that Greg Bovino, the Border Patrol Commander at Large, who's been very visible presence in Minnesota with this surge, is on his way out of the state, demoted from his role to return to his former job in California. And Tom Homan, the Border Czar, coming in to be the point person on the ground, and Karen Scullin's trying to follow this day. And these are the moves that are happening that are kind of hard to see exactly the concrete steps that are being taken, and some of this information is difficult to parse out too, about timelines and et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like he met with the governor this morning.
Tom Homan.
Yeah, Tom Homan met with the governor this morning, and it sounds like maybe Fry not till later today, or maybe about right now. It's unclear. But the governor's office putting out a statement, a brief statement about their conversation, just saying that Governor Walz reiterated Minnesota's priorities, and there are 3 of them: impartial investigation into the Minneapolis shootings involving federal agents, a swift, significant reduction in the number of federal forces in Minnesota, and an end to the campaign of retribution against Minnesota.
So those are sort of the 3 points that the governor's office is stressing that they made to Tom Homan.
Right. But, we haven't heard yet from DHS, from Tom Homan. I'm sure there are some demands on his side as well, and we have yet to hear from them. I have reached out for comment, but we have yet to hear from them on their end. I think their biggest ask, though, just over the last few days, is getting into the jails. They want to get into these jails, and they want Minnesota to honor the detainers, those who are arrested and convicted in the jails.
And I think there's been sort of different, maybe perhaps, interpretations of what the honoring detainers mean. The Department of Corrections and some jails, some sheriff's office say we do honor the detainers, in that when they request that they want this inmate, we let them know when they'll be released from our custody.
Right.
I think historically the detainers have been more like a hold, meaning sometimes those requests are hold them longer until we can get there, which the prisons and the jails don't want to do, because they say that's a constitutional violation of unlawful seizure. So that's kind of hard to parse out too.
It is. I mean, there's also this this thing about a timeline. I think sometimes DHS or ICE is not notified except for maybe 30 minutes before the release, and they can't get there in time. So I think they're also just saying, just hold them until we can get there, kind of thing. Mostly because of a time constraint. They just can't get there fast enough, kind of thing. And there's quite a few in the county jails. I think it's been cleared up at this point that the prisons are doing what they're supposed to be doing, according to.
And it's easier for the prisons because they know well ahead of time when somebody's sentence is up or their probation begins, etc., when they'll be released.
Right.
Like in 3 weeks from now. Whereas in the county jail, it all depends on when that person appears before a judge and sets bail, or etc., and then that can happen pretty quickly. So that's where, specifically, I think where ICE would prefer that they hold them longer. And I think sheriffs, based on some other court rulings in Minnesota, are hesitant to do that. Hennepin County is the other kind of thing here, is that jail will not notify ICE.
Right.
When the release is happening. ICE basically has to keep an eye on that and be there.
Right.
And I think that's also part of the contention here, where the ICE folks say, please let us know for that one. I mean, I think that's where, and that has all been sort of conflated together to say the state doesn't tell us, when it's much more nuanced than that.
Right, and again, I think the focus is more the county jails. Minneapolis being a sanctuary city, they don't ask legal status when they arrest somebody, although it's probably pretty obvious if they're running their information whether they're legal or not, but they don't ask it, and so therefore they sort of just ignore it altogether. And I think ICE is asking them, don't do that. Let us know. But one of the things interesting in the governor's statement, what they're asking tasking the Department of Public Safety here to be the liaison between the state and Tom Homan, now that Homan has kind of taken over the situation. I've asked DPS what exactly that means, how does that play out, how will that work? They're going to get back to me with sort of what they can say, and maybe they don't even know yet. You know,
it's possible they're still working out the details of that partnership or arrangement or liaison relationship. But that does make sense. They are the state's public safety agency, so they would work then with the federal agencies to coordinate whatever that coordination is in terms of working together on an investigation. I think there is now more willingness from the federal government and from Department of Homeland Security to let the state be part of the investigation here.
It does seem like that. The president has said that yesterday, that he indicated that he was on board with maybe the state being part of these investigations. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see. We haven't heard anything official on that, but this is just an ongoing situation to follow. That is for sure. But I do think DHS will say something, or Tom Homan will say something by the end of the day.
Because the other interesting part of that statement, and what we've heard too, we know that Greg Bovino's on his way out along with some agents, and the governor's statement saying we want a reduction. We don't know what reduction is happening and what additional reduction they're asking for, or what will be in what timeline, et cetera.
Right.
And what remains here, and what is the ongoing immigration enforcement action here? What does that look like?
And what's the plan? How many weeks are we talking still? Is it ongoing forever? We just don't know so much yet. But this is a big move with Tom Homan here. It's a big sort of changing of the guard with him taking over. The president seems to have a lot of confidence in Homan. He's kind of, just watching him, he's sort of a straight shooter, it seems like, as he has been over the last few years or so. So it'll be interesting to watch this. Hopefully we get a little more insight, because I think the whole point of him this changing is it sounds like we're hoping to a little more meeting in the middle, a little more of compromise, or at least collaboration and talking going on, and what the result of that collaboration and talking is what we're all kind of waiting for.
Yeah, and a lot of this too, the fallout from statements made by Greg Bovino and Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, in the hours after the shooting of Alex Preddy here, things that were then disputed pretty quickly by video evidence, and that really seems to be the catalyst for Tom Homan, you come in here and deal with some of these issues here.